everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about an upcoming card game called Lorcana. Now, normally I wait till a game's out before we review it, but I had a chance to play Lorcana. I was taught by the designer of Lorcana at the Gamma Trade Show, so I thought I would share some overall impressions because this is clearly one of the most anticipated games in the last decade, and that's not an exaggeration. The number of people who are excited about a Disney collectible card game, it's really immense. People are pretty pumped about it. And I get it. I mean, this game has original art that's done for this game. It's done by Ravensburger, who has a very good track record with games. And the designer knows what they're talking about. So everything about it. Now, there's obviously people who don't like collectible card games, and I get that. But I'm interested in just talking about this. So that's all this is. This video is just going to be my opinions of the game after just playing it once. So there's all that. I looked at it a lot, looked at all the different cards that we're allowed to look at so far, because there's a lot of stuff that's not been shown yet, and giving you some early thoughts on it. We'll find out what I think about it completely once I play the whole thing when it's released later this year. So Lorcana, like I said, is a trading card game or collectible card game in which you buy starter decks and then booster packs for it. And there's going to be initially 10 different products. I think there's around 204 cards. I say that because that's the little number that was on the bottom of the cards. There are 6 different colors with this game. They are amber, amethyst, emerald, ruby, sapphire, and steel. So when you make a deck of cards for this, you just pick any 2 of these colors and you kind of put them together and make a deck. You can have up to 4 of the different characters in this deck, and then deck building seems to be pretty simple. The 3 starter decks that are coming out with this are each 2 colors. I played with a 40 card deck that was like, it's a smaller version of one of those 2 starter decks. Now in these decks, you have a lot of different characters from Disney. So I saw stuff from, I have Mickey Mouse himself, but also I saw characters from Beauty and the Beast, and from, let's see, I saw characters from Aladdin, characters from Frozen, Cruella de Vil. I mean, there's a lot of different characters, and you'll see some of the pictures that I took there, and you could go online and see a lot of other pictures of different characters that are in this. But these characters are called glimmers because you're like an artist drawing them, and so there's some changes to them. And this is something I find fascinating. Like, you will see, for example, Hades might have actually won and is now the king of Olympus, or you might see Gaston, who is smarter, a smarter Gaston, but he's still evil. They're not changing the fundamental evil or good nature of these characters, but there might be some changes because they're these glimmers, and that's why you can also have more than one on the table. So this game is pretty simple. Players are going to start with a 7-card hand. On your turn, the terminology here is ready, set, draw, where you ready cards that have been exerted, tapped, exhausted, whatever the term that you might use in your group. You ready them, set some other stuff, you draw a card, and then you play. On your turn, you can turn 1 card into ink. Almost every card in the game can be turned into ink. Some cards can't, but most cards can. You just take it, show it to your opponent to show that it can be turned into ink, put it in front of you. This ink is a resource that you will be using. You can exert this ink. So as you'll probably have 1 on turn 1, but you'll get more. And many of the different characters will have ink costs on them. I didn't see any that cost a tremendous amount, but in fact, when the game I played, I don't think I got more than 5 ink because I was pretty happy with that amount, but you can go higher than that. You can do 1 per turn. You put these characters in play in front of you. So when you put a character in play in front of you, they can't do stuff right away. So this is very similar to other games. You know, Magic has the summoning sickness here. But when you put a character into play, the ink has to dry. That's the terminology here. So can't do anything. But on a future turn, you have to decide what you're going to do with each of these characters. But mostly what you're trying to do is you're trying to get points in this game. So the first character who's going to get 20 points is going to win. Now, it's not points per se. It is called, I'm trying to find the terminology here so that I don't get this incorrect here. But it is, I think it's just lore, I think is what it's called here. So you are going to tap these cards. You're going to quest with these cards to get lore. The first person to get 20 lore is the winner of the game. And characters can give you 1 or 2. There might be more than that. but most of the ones I saw are 1 or 2. So you basically exert them, turn them sideways, they give you lore. You can also, though, attack your opponent's characters with your characters, and characters have an attack value and a hit point value on them. You can attack your opponent's characters with your own creatures or your own characters, Disney characters that you have. When you basically just exert your own character to attack them, you both do damage to each other. Damage is permanent in this game, so it's not like Magic the Gathering. So if you have 5 hit points and I do 3 damage to you, I put 3 damage counters on your character, and the next turn I might be able to take it out, and then it's gone. So the game is all about, do I exert my characters to get this lore, which helps me win the game? But if I exert them, they're able to be attacked. They're not able to be attacked if they are upright. So that's kind of an interesting aspect there. And the turning them sideways to get this lore, a lot of people are going to say that reminds me of Keyforge. It's definitely going to bring those ideas to your head. That's a little bit like Keyforge, while the attacking is a little bit like Magic the Gathering, a little bit. So it kind of has a little bit of those ideas in there, but that's pretty much it. There are some other cards. There are cards that are called songs. Songs are like action cards, the things that allow you to do something. They also cost a certain amount of ink to play, although you could also have one of your characters sing it. So it might say this card can be sung. So if let's say the value of the card's 4 and I have a character that costs 4, I can exert that character to play that song for free. So again, that's another opportunity that you have to do this. You keep going till someone gets to 20 lore, that person wins. So thoughts on this? I really think that this is going to be a game that families are going to enjoy. What I just said, some people are going to go, that's too simple for me. I say to that, balderdash and nonsense. We need more simple games out there. But it's not that simple. There are going to be keywords. There are things that are going to let you do things. There's characters. There's some very basic characters I saw that they just have a certain amount of lore they get. They have an attack value, defense value. But there are some that, like Captain Hook, for example, in our game, when he attacks, gets +2. So he's much more useful to go on the offensive. There are characters who can take the damage from other characters. There's interesting things like Ariel, for example, can't sing songs. And there's a lot of really good theme in this game. Not to mention, when I say these songs, these action cards, they actually are the name of songs from Disney, which means when you play this, you're going to be singing Disney songs. And that's just the way it's going to work out. But I enjoyed it. It was nice and fast. And like I said, it's going to remind you of other games. But Keyforge, which this is going to be compared to, is this big grandiose type game with all the cards do crazy things. This one's a much more simple, solid, straightforward game. I'm going to be putting out characters. Do I want to take out your characters? I do, because I don't want you getting lore, but at the same time, I want to get lore faster than you. And I think that 10-year-olds could easily play this game. I think families can play this game. I think you might be able to get people to play this game who are not even, gamers per se, but they really, really love Disney. And for gamers, well, that's kind of up to you where you're going to end up on this. I don't know how seriously they're going to take it. I would say this feels on the same complexity level. It probably maybe a little bit more complex than Pokemon, but somewhere along that line. Now, Pokemon now has, dozens and dozens of sets that have come out for it, so there's a lot more involved. This is set 1 for Lorcana that I looked at. So, with the caveat that I only saw 40 cards, well, 2 40-card decks from the 2 starter decks, and I've seen a bunch of other cards. I've talked to the designer at a decent amount of length. I've asked lots of questions. I looked at everything. I'm excited about this, folks, because I'm going to play this with my kids. My teenagers, I think, will enjoy it. I think I'm going to be able to play this game with people who aren't. It's going to be crazy when it first comes out. People are going to run around and buy decks. If the folks who were, it was the most popular thing that people were looking at the Gamma Trade Show I just went to. So that's, I feel like there's going to be an initial huge surge on it. Where it ends up after that, I don't know. But for now, I can say that it's something that I really enjoyed playing. I look forward to seeing the final thing. So later on this year, you can check it out. So that's Disney Lorcana. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time.